What's the deal, family? You got Coach Gui here. Defense wins championships. I guess it's fitting that I take off my football helmet because today we'll be discussing basketball. In particular, let's talk about Draymond Green and the Jordan Poole altercation. Uh, I wasn't there, so I can only be so opinionated on the matter. But as Draymond Green has stated in his press conference, the video doesn't actually have audio. And not only does it not have audio, it doesn't show a lot more than Draymond Green approaching Jordan Poole, the push and the punch. So what are we missing? How did they get to that point? Because that wasn't just the way the day started. He didn't walk into the gym and decide to just walk up to Jordan Poole. It's not how it went. I'm sure Jordan Poole said something or did something. And in my opinion, very humble opinion, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that we have a case of an offensive player believing because he's an offensive player who can shoot and dribble the ball, he's more important than the defensive players. And that's where he's wrong. And I'm sure it got to a point where finally Draymond Green was fed up with this notion. Not to mention the fact that we're talking about contract years. And Jordan Poole will probably get paid a lot because he is a pretty damn good offensive player. But also, Draymond Green is a great defensive player. But defensive players are underappreciated in all sports, except for maybe baseball, where the pitcher, who is a defensive player, is heralded if he's great. All right? Okay. So let's understand this. In all sports, defense wins championships. I'm 31, I'll be 32 on Halloween. Yeah, trick or treat. You choose trick or treat. All sports, as far as I can go back, have always had a championship won by the better defensive team. You can even look at the Warriors. The Warriors have had a very, very great defense for the last, what are we talking here, maybe 10 years, maybe a little less, 9, 8 years, since Draymond Green has been a part of that organization. And the idea that maybe, just maybe, they would be willing to pay Jordan Poole more than they're willing to pay Draymond Green is absurd. It's absolutely preposterous, ridiculous. I have a lot of adjectives for that idea. But it's a good chance that that is what the Warriors are thinking. Or, in particular, in this case, Jordan Poole is thinking. I'm sure they had disputes about whether or not he was more important than Draymond Green is because he is the one who can shoot and dribble the ball. Never mind the fact that without Draymond Green, here's where I get to be very controversial and opinionated, but my personal belief, and I'm pretty sure it's a fact, there is no way the Warriors will have the rings that they have without Draymond Green's presence on that team. He is the backbone, he is the muscle, and he is also the most vocal person on the entire court. If you listen to the audio of their games and you pay attention to Draymond Green, you will realize he is always directing traffic. And he's always covering for guys who may slip up and miss an assignment on the defensive end. He puts everyone where they should be. And if you are not able to get there, he'll find a way to cover it. Draymond Green sort of plays like in football terms, a free safety. He can guard all five positions, standing at 6'7". Doesn't weigh a lot, but he has what you call heart. And that's the thing that you generally find on defense. Not only that, he has a lot of IQ. So again, I say without Draymond Green's presence on the defensive end and his energy and hustle, which again is a defensive characteristic, he or the Warriors would not have the championships that they have. I personally believe, as much as I love Stephen Curry, believe he's the greatest point guard in the league, I believe he'll go down as the greatest player to ever play the game. Yes, over LeBron James, who doesn't play defense. He'll go down as the greatest player in basketball over Michael Jordan, because I believe on this team, as long as this doesn't break up the team, he will get to 6 rings. And barring uh, injury and the fact that these guys are getting a little older, he may even make it to 7 rings. It's pretty close to it. And now that they do have a Jordan Poole and also a Jonathan Kaminga and also a James Wiseman, and they just have and Bill Myers, Bob Myers, and Steve Kerr, and that whole organization seems to know how to draft. Their system is pretty great. Odds are they're gonna win more and more championships. But if they let Draymond Green walk, all of that goes out the window. That I'm sure of. I'm sure, again, these guys, Draymond Green and Jordan Poole, were having a back and forth about whether or not it matters that Draymond Green can't shoot threes as well as Jordan Poole or score at all as well as Jordan Poole can. And that's an issue. And it's only so long before a dog, which Draymond is a dog, I'm a dog also, so I definitely mean that in no regard to being any disrespectful for him. It's definitely an admiration and the dog that he is. It's only so long for a dog actually bites. And what we had was Jordan Poole, as many have stated, and as we are all seen, wasn't a dog in this instance. And I'm sure he felt very, very protected behind the gate of the NBA, of Steve Kerr, Bob Myers, Stephen Curry. I'm sure he felt like Draymond Green is just going to yell and stomp and do Draymond Green things, and it will never amount to him actually punching me in my mouth for the things that I'm saying. But that's where he was wrong. Draymond Green was willing to jump over that gate and challenge the young pup. Now, I'm not sure whether or not I intend to offend offensive minded players, but I don't care whether or not I do. I can tell you that because they have to learn also something that I like to say. When you're on offense, don't forget to play defense. What does that mean? That means when you're on offense, your job is to protect the ball. That's defense. You defend your dribble, you defend your shot. The best way to do that is with space, which is why you have to try to get you a step back. The step back is taking over the league to get your three up, to get your shot off. Have your Euro step to get your shot off. You have to find a way to cross a person over to find a lane and the space and the time and space, in order to get a comfortable shot. But when there's a defender like a Draymond Green who's not going to make anything comfortable for an offensive player, you miss more shots than you make, especially in opportunistic position times of the game in which you will eventually fall further and further and further behind in the scoreboard. And once that happens, only way to come back is not by shooters shoot. You're a shooter. You just keep shooting. No. You have to make stops. Here's a concept. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard it. Pretty sure you haven't. It's one I've developed for myself. But I've also heard it in one other sport, which was boxing. But I pretty much just thought of it my own. Or I'd say, by way of the grace of God, this knowledge has been put upon me. It's rock, paper, scissors. Rock does not beat rock. Paper does not beat paper. Scissors don't beat scissors. You can't beat 3-point shots by throwing up 3-point shots. Only way to beat that is by defending those shots. Rock beats scissors. Scissors don't beat rock. Paper beats rock. What we have is a copycat league. Everyone wants to be Stephen Curry, but there is only one Stephen Curry. And there's also only one Klay Thompson. Not really many Draymond Greens. And I am very offended by the fact that people would like to say that Draymond Green would not be able to be effective on any other team. Yes, the system that they set up with Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson and a moving triangle and the motions and the way that they have that thing set up over there is very effective. And Draymond Green is the point forward who facilitates the floor and makes sure the right person gets the ball at the right time. Because Stephen Curry would definitely turn it over, doing trying to be a little too fancy, being way too offensive. He's not being defensive minded and protecting the ball. One thing Stephen Curry would say, have to understand, and I'll put this to the side, but it's a thought for you guys to maybe take in. As Stephen Curry is a great shooter, we often label him as a magnet. And we talk about the fact that he can stretch the floor so far that your defenders have to come to him. So he's a magnet. He goes here, you gotta follow. You just go with him. And what he doesn't understand is because he's Stephen Curry, all eyes are always on him. So some passes he shouldn't attempt because no one's going to be surprised by him because everyone is already watching him. Just like Larry Brown had to get through Iverson's head, Phil Jackson had to get through Michael Jordan's head. Two great offensive players, also two great defensive players. But they had to understand the fact that, hey, you can't always have the ball in your hand and be as what word do I want to use here? As much of a threat as you are. And expect them not to collapse on whatever it is you're doing. So as Stephen Curry is dribbling, does it behind the back, swings, goes around, and decides he wants to swing a finesse pass, you can't expect it to miss anyone because everyone is already watching you. Most of your passes will actually have to come from a place of, let's say, the old way point guards play, which is usually at the top of the key. You have to have very, very spaced out lanes to get your passes off because everyone is watching. Like Larry Brown, Phil Jackson taught Allen Iverson and Michael Jordan. You got to be in motion at all times, and then you catch and you get your shot. Generally, those two guys was like an ISO for him. But to try to sneak a pass is out of the equation. With guys like Draymond Green, Chris Paul alike, these guys aren't the shooters. So a lot of times people's backs are to them because we don't care what you're going to do with the ball, except for the fact that we expect you to pass it to somebody. But that means we have to guard the person who's running around waiting for that pass, barely looking at you. Steph Curry doesn't have that freedom. So that's where Draymond Green comes in. He gives you the freedom. So because of his IQ and his willingness to pass and his dire need to win, like it burns inside of him, he has to win. He's a winner. He'd be great in a lot of systems. Trust me. He'd be great in a lot of systems. He would play very well in most teams. Because not only that, again, I state, he's the vocal leader. He's talking. On defense, everyone has to be on a string. You got to be connected. And it's a lot of disconnection in most teams because most teams don't talk. Because most teams don't care as much about defense as they care about offense. Draymond Green doesn't have that issue. He cares a lot about defense. And he's always talking and always telling, hey, get back. Don't worry about that. I got that. Go. I got that. Everybody, trap, trap, trap. He's the guy talking and putting everybody in position to make the offensive guys' opportunities and abilities to score minimal. As minimal as possible. And if you can't cover that guy, I'll cover him. That's the Draymond Green thing. That's needed on every team. Because again, a lot of teams don't have a guy who can talk and see well from his position and as well not only see it, be able to rotate and cover for the guys among his team. So trust me, Draymond Green will be fine in a lot of places. So this is where the altercation comes from, in my particular opinion. And this video is going a little longer than I want to. I'm at 17 seconds. I like to end it at 20 minutes. I'm 17 minutes. I like to end it at 20. Draymond Green was trying to express and get Jordan Poole to understand, as well as the rest of the organization to understand, that he is very important and he should definitely be appreciated for all the things that he does on the defensive end. And again, they wouldn't have the rings they have without him. Jordan Poole wasn't there for all those rings. He's only been there for one of them. Kevin Durant left because Kevin Durant, who was playing no defense while in OKC, but because of Draymond Green calling him the B word, Draymond Green was challenging Kevin Durant in a way that he didn't want to be challenged. But Kevin Durant did step up and play defense for the first time in his whole career. He did pretty good at it. Pretty good at it. But he's back in Brooklyn, not playing defense once again. Because he's not a defensive player. He's an offensive player who believes, I'll get another shot. But this is the issue. Time. You only have so much time to get another shot. And what if I stop the next shot? And what if I have Stephen Curry on my team who's going to hit a three-pointer and put you in a hole? And then you miss another shot, and now you're in a deeper hole. Shooters keep shooting. Guys like to go to the press conference and say, I had a bad shooting night. But what did you do on the defensive end to cover for your bad shooting night? Nothing. Nothing. And in basketball, unfortunately, there are 7 games, if you can make it that far, where you can get another time in the playoffs, where you can get another chance and another chance and another chance to try to get your shot or get the next guy. And you're just going to keep jacking up shots. But at some point, you have to make some stops. So, if you haven't gotten it now, then I'll say it again and make it very plain. I believe Jordan Poole was in the wrong and trying to treat Draymond Green as lesser than because he's not a scorer. And Draymond Green was fed up with that idea and didn't want to deal with that kind of pressure. Maybe he wanted to go somewhere where no one's going to tell him to play defense. I think it was the dumbest thing he ever done. But to each his own. Hopefully, this minor altercation is resolved. And these guys can actually move on from it. Hopefully, Jordan Poole heals well, both physically and mentally, and he can grow from it. And maybe he'll become a better defender. Maybe just out of fear of Draymond. Whatever the case, defense wins championships. And at some point, it has to be respected. That would be my piece for now. This is the first episode. Not exactly sure how well it came out, but these are my thoughts, and I have a lot of other thoughts. I also have a book coming out, Defense 101, and in that book we will be discussing, or I'll be discussing, or what discussion. I'll be explaining why defense wins championships, how to defend, and what all it is that you are defending against. One of those things is time and space. There are a lot of other chapters that will be tapped into. When that book is done, I'll be presenting it to the public. As of now, this is my book. I hope you guys learned something here. Yeah. And I hope you like, share, and subscribe. Coach Gweek, defense wins championships. Let's go, D. Let's go.